And folks, in the upper left, in the blue, he was the darling of IEM Katowice last season. Let's see if he can do it again. It is Ryung.
And his opponent, spawning down in the bottom right for the Kwangdong Freaks. He is the mid-game king. It's soO. Now, something that is always so interesting as we get rolling in at these games is the first game of the tournament. It's a best of 3. You don't have a lot of breathing room. You don't have that kind of buffer you get with a best of 5 or even a best of 7, where, you know, you drop one map, it's not such a big deal. You can kind of throw away a map with a bit of an anachronistic strategy. But in a best of 3, it is really playing with fire. So I'm interested and not too surprised, but a little bit surprised nonetheless that we don't see anything spicy. It's just standard openings from both players. I was thinking maybe we might see a command center first ever Ryung, but nope, nothing of the sort. Just going to be straight up standard play for now.
And I don't think that surprises me all that much, actually. Steadfast is Ryung here on Dragon Scales, right? It's a bit of a shorter map. It is one of the maps we might consider a little bit Terran favored, but this is also game one of many that we're going to start to get out of this series. So you know what? Look, it's your first game in Katowice this year. Go play what's standard. Go play what's comfortable. Go play what you kind of are used to playing. And go from there, right? Establish yourself into this game, especially against a player like soO, who you're not going to expect roaches. You're not going to expect anything super crazy coming out of him.
Yeah. The one thing that we do have to note is that Ryung did skip the SCV scout. So if there was, you know, like a quick 16 pool into a roach play, something that Dark loves a lot, we might see some trouble. But like you said, standard play. And soO, he is not the kind of player to go for that kind of opener generally. He will go for like a 10 roach build. Oh my goodness, Ryung gets a drone. That is such a nice start for the Korean Terran here. That's not supposed to happen.
No, you really don't expect that to happen. Not in a game like this, right? Where it's TVZ. Reapers don't do damage. I think we've seen players that were casters in tournaments, you know, they count up what they do. It's like, what is it, 80%? Nothing happens. So that is actually a massive start here in the first game. And yeah, is it going to change the way the game goes, Steadfast? No, not really. But it's a mentality thing. It shows us that Ryung is, maybe his TVZ is not the 37% that it was in 2022.
Well, yeah, and I mean, sometimes it's not about like playing like Maru or Beyond. It's about picking your spots and finding openings. And he picked his spot. He got that drone. In addition, soO got a little bit supply blocked. His Overlord was just a tiny bit late at 36, so he was sitting on Larva for just a couple of seconds. And it wasn't a terrible supply block, but it was an indicator that maybe he's not feeling as comfortable as we'd like to see. Now, we are going to be seeing something very interesting in terms of the build orders here. Okay, no, we're just gonna chill with these units. Answering the question of whether it's going to be battle mech, the answer is not this game. We've got a 3cc 211. This is a very control-oriented build. This is a build where you get out onto the map pretty early on. You get about 5 minutes 30 seconds. You get a medevac or 2 medevacs. 14 Marines, you're trying to, you know, apply pressure and really shut down the Zerg creep spread as much as possible. So the fact that we're seeing Ryung go that way into soO is very telling about how he feels his form is right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you can get there, if you can put yourself in a good position, and if you can just get yourself into the mid game, if you're not feeling good about it, you're thinking, ooh, Reaper Grenade goes out, but the Queen's going to find right back on the creep. So no damage there from Ryung. I mean, a little pressure, but not much more than that. He doesn't get the creep tumor either, which is actually so important on this map in particular. Dragon Scales is a map characterized by a couple high ground positions. If you can get your creep spread there before the Terran starts pushing, it becomes a lot harder for the Terran to put their siege tanks on the high ground, start to put pressure on your fourth base, which is where it is. But look at this. soO's get a Roach Warren down. There's been some conversation that, hey, Dragon Scales might be decent for 1-1 Roach timings. It's short. The third base is somewhat right open. But I didn't really expect to see that. I thought we were going to see more High Drilling Bane, especially coming from a player like soO. So, Steadfast, what do you make out of this?
Well, it's a really interesting concept. But I thought you were talking about this quick armory and this Widowmine drop play we're seeing out of Ryung. Now, Ryung has figured something out. Speaking about picking your spots, he's realized that if you put Widowmines in these little alcoves, these little triangle alcoves, Lings can't get on top of it in time. But to speak to what you were saying, I think that a 1-1 roach timing on Dragon Scale specifically is a great decision. Oh, we're going to see Ryung trying to use the rocks. No, okay. I was going to say, if he uses the rocks to kill those, that would be really nice. Here comes the first push on the right side. Where is that mine drop? Looks like it's making its way into the natural. There is a spore crawler here, but drones. They will pull away. Oh, Ryung, you got to little late on the unload right there. Looks like he's getting counterattacked. And that has distracted him a little bit. Actually gets 3 SCVs with just a handful of Lings. That's really nice. Meanwhile, all the mines and the medevac were cleaned up. Really nice start for soO.
Yeah, but Steadfast, you say that. soO lost his 4th base. He lost some workers, but the big deal here is Ryung A got the scout. He saw the roaches and the roach warren and the upgrading Evo chambers, let's be real, and he lost his 4th base. So yeah, is getting that 4th as important if you're going for 1-1 roaches as it is if you're going for, something maybe a little bit more standard? No, it's not. You don't need that production as hard. But in the balance of things, right, it's workers for workers here, trading about even, and Ryung got so much more out of that off the scouting, off the ability to knock down the 4th base. And look at what he's doing here, stimming into the natural. He's going to try to find whatever he can. Now, knocking down that creep is nice, and he's going to get forced back, not able to, I thought his goal was to just clear up creep right between the natural and the 3rd. But his multitasking, well, okay, never mind. Those are just some Hellions. I thought he had another army there. Never mind.
Yeah. The thing that I'm worried about right now is this 1-1 roach push. Mm-hmm. And like you kind of alluded to, it's not actually a big deal to lose your 4th base against this. Now, we are going to see a bit of a transition, so it's going to be a soft attack, but even just denying mining on the 3rd base is a big deal. And this is not enough to fight this here for Ryung. He unsieges the tank, moves it away from a corrosive bile spot, but we will see, nice dodge on the corrosive biles there. This is just a lot of roach ravager though. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, the counterattack from Ryung is getting pushed away. So many SCVs going down. I think this might just be game 1 done and dusted here.
It's tempting to say that, right? I mean, but how many times, Steadfast, have we seen players go and they take damage? They lose or they have to give up their 3rd base position. They lose 20, 30 SCVs. But because of the fact that, by the way, soO has forgotten his Carapace upgrades, only attack, but because of how the roach count just tends to time out once the Terran gets to a certain point, it doesn't work as well. That being said, though, no upgrades coming in from Ryung right now. As soO, he looks to hit the gas here. Bio's going to have to move backwards just a little bit, and the supply depots go down. But hey, Ryung doesn't have enough supply to get supply blocked. So he continues to lose the Hellbats, continues to lose Marines. But for the most part, the tanks, they're staying alive. In fact, Ryung has not lost a single one in this game. And that is going to have to be, as I say, that tank goes down. But that is going to have to be the thing that keeps him alive here. But Steadfast, the other thing I want to talk about is the fact that we just saw Ryung do that, right? Ravagers, they take a lot longer to morph. They're not that kind of quick, easy save button to make your roach count last a little bit longer here as Ryung kites backward, but he's out of the safety of the natural. Couple roaches trying to find their way on the high ground where their 1 tank is. 2nd one as well, but it's going to start to fall. Ryung tries to get on top of the Ravagers here, but he does not have enough, and the 1-1 roach timing. We're talking about it. soO, he takes game 1.
Yeah, I mean, you said it at the beginning. The 3rd is really wide open against those roach timings. It's just not easy. Not easy to deal with that kind of thing on this map. Great build order choice here from soO. And like I said, I'm a little bit surprised that we didn't see the Madelmech play. Good job from soO. Ryung getting caught a little bit here, not able to get too much done. The Widowmine drop really didn't achieve what he was looking for. Just overall, that was soO looking much more solid and comfortable, which is kind of funny because the first 4 minutes of the game would have indicated that it was actually Ryung who looked a little bit more in his element. But soO settled in and he said, you know what, I lost a drone, who cares? It's not going to affect the game. That's not going to tilt me. I'm a championship caliber player. I know how to, deal with things. I'm not going to get mentally tilted. And yeah, he shows up, gets game 1.
I mean, you say that, but actually, Cham is playing in another series right now. He's not playing this one. Anyways, sorry, had to get that out of my system. But you're right. Although we do have to point out, of course, that this was a quick armory Widowmine drop, right? That is almost a build order loss against what we saw soO doing, right? You commit into a bunch of early game, these Widowmines, these things that are not Cyclones, they're not tanks, they're not Marauders, anything that really fight roaches. And unless you get like 30 workers or something, you've just spent so much production time on things that are not units that help you defend that it gets really rough. So I can't blame Ryung for losing that necessarily. Although again, I don't know, I happen to be a bit of a tuna fan, at least tuna sandwiches. But it's another game, it's another day, and we're gonna move into again a map that might be on the Terran side of things. Royal Blood is gonna be the second map in this series, Steadfast. Any thoughts about that?
I mean, not particularly. I think I've had some things that I'm gonna highlight, and I hope we'll see it when we get in game. Something about the map that I really hope we see, some kind of SOS style tactics. But as far as TVZ is concerned, there's lots of decent like chokes. I think this would be the kind of map where a mech play would be a lot stronger. So I do hope we'll see that out of Ryung. It's gonna be one of those time will tell type situations. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready to see how this one turns out.
I am too. In fact, I'm so ready. We're just gonna get into it. All right, folks. In the upper right now, in the blue, he's down a game in the series. It's Ryung.
And his opponent, spawning down in the bottom left, striking hard with the 1-1 Roach. It is the Kwangdong Freaks, soO.
And the man is superb. At least he was in that first game.
Yeah, he certainly was. He kind of won the way we talked about, too, with the mid-game aggression. That 1-1 Roach timing hit so hard. Even if Ryung had managed to survive, like you said, there weren't any 2-2 upgrades on the way. Really, that first engagement and the failure of the Widowmine drop, I don't think it necessarily needed to get 30 drones, but I think it needed to get, at least 10. And at the very least, he needed to unburrow all of those mines. Like he had some trouble with that one. So it really didn't work out in his favor. And hopefully he can come back a little bit stronger here in game number 2.
Yeah, that'd be nice. And you talk about defensive play, mech play on this map. Well, Royal Blood is one of these maps that by taking one base, you kind of take them all, right? So if we look in the middle of the map here, there's this base on the high ground. Terrans can siege it up nice, but by doing so, you start to dominate the map. You can take the 6 o'clock base. You can start to take the the 4 o'clock base. You can try to dominate the gold a little bit, and that's kind of what you're looking for. As a Terran player, someone who wants to play mech, maybe you want to be able to take one base and start to unlock several bases on the same margin. So who knows? We might see soO go for some level of massive break. This is not quite as good for 1-1 Roaches. You can, of course, knock down the rocks in the middle and make it shorter, but the third base is not quite as exposed. And I also don't think we're going to see soO do the same thing twice in a row, which, hey, maybe that's good news for Ryung. I don't know, but here comes the Reaper.
Yeah, I think soO's going to be a little bit more attentive this time to try and avoid losing one of those workers. It is a little bit more difficult to get the kind of pick off he got on Dragonblood, just how the ramp is kind of set up, and it's a little bit longer to skirt around, a little bit more difficult to get in the natural. And soO just going to push the Reaper away. Good job. Will be a fast third command center from Ryung, but something I want to put my own rubber stamp on. So we've got these gold bases, right? You think you take them from this side?
No, you take
I want to see
side.
somebody take them from the other side. That's what I'm looking for. That's the SOS play that I'm looking for. That's what I want to see. And I think we could see some very cool stuff potentially happening with that. Maybe in like a PvT or a PvP. I think we could see some cool stuff.
I mean, I could see that working for even like a TVZ, right? If you're going Bioterran, which who knows whether Ryung does not go for. We're not quite at that inflection point just yet. But if you go Bioterran, you don't really need 6 gas. We'll often see them get it and then, bank 1,500 gas because, gas will be useful eventually. But you don't really tend to need that much gas. So if you take that as your, I don't know that I would want to take it as a third, but as a third or fourth, you don't really need that gas. So that might be useful as Reaper goes into the main base, just gets a good scout off, sees how much gas is in the main, when speed is going to be done if it's done, realizes that this is the delayed flash opening. So speed is now going to be at 4 minutes, 4:15, which, hey, that's good news. But oh, look at this Steadfast. A Raven on the way earlier, Raven Hellion. This is something that I thought we might start to see considering how much cheaper Ravens are now. And then I talked to every Terran and they said, nah, it's not worth it. Ryung, though, you got this Raven on the way.
Yeah, and this indicates that it probably is going to be bio because you're going to be using that Raven to clear creep as much as anything. Oh, this is, wow, never mind. Okay, no, it will still be bio. This is weird. It's going to be Raven into Liberator. This is something I don't think I would have ever expected. This is such an out there concept. But because of the faster Raven, because of how much, quicker it builds, you do have a little bit more starport time where otherwise you wouldn't have had it. This is a really neat concept to me. And if he just keeps the Raven, keeps the Liberator alive, he could get some very nice harass going throughout the game.
Now remember though, the auto turrets are not quite as strong as they once were, right? So they have a lot less HP. So Queen actually kills it. Only 2 workers go down. That's apparently the number right now. From what I'm being told, yeah, auto turrets, they kill 2 workers. Anything more is a mistake. But these maps in general have so much dead airspace around the main that you can just kind of hang an Oracle if we're talking about Protoss or a Raven or something and just get that consistent damage. But nope, the Raven's going to join up with the Hellions. We're going to start to see it clear up some creep. And, well, the Spore Crawler is a bit out of position as the Hellions. Well, they're going to arrive. Auto turret gets dropped to try to snipe the Overlord, but the Queens are here, so that's not going to go down. Nice try there, Ryung. But, yeah, Overlord stays alive.
Yeah, you're generally speaking not going to want to use those auto turrets in a fight anymore. You want to use them for the harass. So I do really like that he did that initially. Liberator did get 1 kill in the main base, which is, kind of nice. soO did have the Spore Crawler ready to go, so he's not going to be too off-put by that. But once again, it's going to be bio, and I gotta say, I'm very surprised. soO, by the way, pretty brutal supply block at 96, 98. So he had 7 Overlords on the way, and he gets out of it. It's not a horrible supply block, but building 7 Overlords is not really what you want. Meanwhile, oh, this is not what you want as Ryung. Very nice counterattack coming on in here. Gonna force a lot of lost mining time, gets 3 SCVs as well. And behind all this, soO is now up, what is that, 17 workers?
Yeah, something like that. I do want to point out, though, Ryung, great job there on the hold position. Lost actually several less SCVs than he could have otherwise. But this is the game we were talking about, Steadfast, at the start of this series that we thought we wanted to see. Hydra Den's on the way. Interestingly enough, we're seeing him go Groove Spines first. I've talked to some players who were telling me, Groove Spines first is almost never the play now just because of how strong the Muscular Augments buff is. But if you're just planning on staying defensive, you're just planning on staying on creep, adding that extra range is going to be rather nice. So soO for now, he's got his 4th base, his hatch on the way, the Dark Hatch, the Dark Macro Hatch, whatever you want to say, on the way. He's adding in Hydras. Everything else is getting ready to absorb the first hammer blow that our Terran player is getting started with. And, well, we're going to have to see how well this works out because Ryung, on the north side, his army's here.
Yes, it is. It is clearing up a lot of creep. This is a pretty great position for tanks. There's no Bane speed. soO forgot it for a while, so it is not going to be ready for this fight. 1-1 is not yet done for soO either. This is a dangerous looking push. Bane's getting some okay connections to start off, and the Queens are they're tanking quite nicely. soO needs to buy about 5 more seconds for his Groove Spines and his 1-1. There's the 1-1. But Ryung is getting this hatchery very low in HP. There's only a little bit of transfuse left. And with no Bane speed, this is a really difficult fight to take. Oh, the Bane's mostly going down. A lot of Marines flooding on forward. A 3rd tank as well. Good concave for soO with the Hydras. But is there enough? It looks like soO might just barely break through. Oh, it's actually He's getting off creep a little bit, and that means no transfuse. The Queen's kind of bumbling a little bit. Never mind. This is actually going to be Ryung just barely pushing through here with the Marines.
Steadfast, it doesn't even matter now if soO holds on at this point. Yeah, he got the Raven. Yes, he's killed some of these Marines, the tanks. He has lost so many Hydras over the course of this fight now that it almost doesn't even matter if the base goes down at this point. It's just such an expensive trade for soO at this point. The Mortlings continue to rally in. That's something. We gotta wait for the next rally coming in from Ryung, because now Baneling speed is done. Hydra speed is gonna be done soon enough, but now the tanks move forward here. The base is so damn low Steadfast. The Lings are gonna run forward. Again, the Hydras, the Lings, they gotta make something happen here. And Ryung micros backwards just a little bit. The tanks are gonna start to fall. The Hydras, they're doing what they can, and it seems like soO is going to hold here. But again, that was 16 Hydras going down. This entire composition is based around losing Lings, sure. Losing Banelings, sure. But you need that strong force to stay alive. And what this means now is soO's transition into the Hive, into the 3-3, into Vipers, into whatever you need. It's going to be much slower than he would like it to be.
Yeah, but that was still a pretty dedicated push from Ryung. I think this still comes out with a solid lead for soO after this situation. Now, it's not over by any stretch, but the fact that the base did stay alive is a big deal. So close to going down, even now after a little bit of regeneration, only at 163 HP. The rest of the creep, I want to see Ryung starting to move forward to clear a little bit of that out, but he misses the lead tumor, which is very unfortunate. Well, very unfortunate for Ryung. Extremely good news for soO. Now, soO probably doesn't want to push up here. There could be a lot of tanks, and the sensor tower sees just about everything. This is a very bold move here from soO. Liberator, tanks well sieged up, and soO with a pretty big overcommitment, I would say. We do see a counterattack coming into the natural. Ooh, can it find that tank? That would be a really nice pickoff, but the repair from Ryung. Oh, it's not going to be enough. It actually kind of blocked the tank. Wow, okay, well, could have been better, but still pretty good for soO, I think, specifically getting that last tank. He kind of resets the tank count. It's actually back down to just 1 now, which is really going to make those Hydras a lot more powerful. It's only 12 Hydras on the field, but this is kind of even at this point, I think. This is a pretty even game now.
Yeah, the key thing we got to look at is while there's only 1 tank on the field, Ryung is playing double factory. So he should be, he's only building 1 tank right now, but he should be able to get back that tank count fairly nice as he does try to take this 4th base. The Mule Hammer goes down, but now if there's a timing that Ryung is going to have in the mid game where he's got maybe a little bit nicer run, he does have that upgrade lead until 13 seconds from now, but the Hydras, they're able to move across the map so quickly that doesn't even really matter. So soO, by his very presence, pushes the 4th base away. Ryung can't take that one, and unlike a lot of Terran players we'd like to see, there is no counterattack from Ryung. Not really. He's getting on the map right now, started to knock some creep spread down, but we don't see a drop in a base. We don't see Ryung really putting pressure on, forcing soO to micro in 2 positions at the same time. So here come the Lings and the Banelings running forward. Tank at the front, which makes it really hard. You want them to get multiple shots off, but coming in flanked on the backside, knocks down a lot of these Hydras, but Ryung, he loses so many of his Marines. The splits are just not good enough. The SCVs have to run, and they're going to get broken down. There's 1 Hydra that's going to try to break this base, but more importantly, Lings and Banes into the natural. soO wins the fight, and more importantly, 21 SCVs, 24 SCVs are starting to go down, and now it's the rally from the Zerg that starts to arrive. Is there anything at this point that Ryung can do?
It doesn't really feel like that to me. He doesn't have 3-3 on the way. He never got it. The tank count has been set back to 1 once again. At this point, soO, he's just broken him. And there it is. GG gets called. soO will move on to the next round. Takes down the 2.